Okay, I understand we've been able to establish contact with Anietie Ewang, the researcher, Human Rights Watch Abuja, Nigeria, to talk about the Nigeria Sars report and the lack of specimen response thereafter. Anietie, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Thanks for having me.
And thanks for joining us. It's been 6 months after the judicial panel implicated security forces in various abuse committed. The government is yet to act on that report. What does this say about justice and accountability in the system?
I think it's quite unfortunate that we've seen very little or no progress towards any efforts to identify, to discipline, and to prosecute those who were directly or indirectly part of the attacks against protesters, which the Lagos Judicial Panel of Inquiry clearly highlighted in its findings and its recommendations. Now, our fear is that this is a pattern that we've seen over the years since Nigeria transitioned into a democracy since 1999, where judicial panels of inquiry are set up, citizens' monies are used to fund the process, and at the end of the day, there's absolutely no result. In this case, we've seen a report, but in many other cases, reports were never made public, and there was just no progress. So we're calling on the authorities to really ensure that this is not the case, that they move away from the previous record that we've seen has really not contributed to justice and accountability, because what it tells us citizens is that our rights do not matter. What it tells victims is that the suffering that they went through is completely inconsequential. And it also gives security forces a wide playing field to engage with citizens in such a violent way, knowing that there might not be consequences for their actions.
All right. Let me ask, the white paper on the judicial panel report that was released in November 2021 was rejected. Rejected the panel's key findings, including the death toll of 9. They stated that there were substantial inconsistencies and a lack of adequate evidence to back the claim. How do you react to this?
Well, first and foremost, Human Rights Watch also conducted investigations into the incident, and our findings were very similar to that of the Judicial Panel of Inquiry, to the extent that while we could not specifically give a figure of the number of people who lost their lives at the incident, we were able to establish that lives were lost and people suffered gruesome, life-changing injuries as a result of that. Now, it's one thing for the authorities to say that this report is inaccurate or has a lot of inconsistencies, and it's another thing for them to completely not do anything to be able to shed more light on what these inconsistencies are. So what we would expect at the very least are an independent investigations internally within the security forces, right? The police has a number of mechanisms through which they can understand the role that officers played at that incident. So also does the military that were also implicated. They have a number of mechanisms that they can launch to independently investigate. But so far there's been no progress, and they've rejected the findings without anything concrete on their part. I think one thing that is extremely clear and cannot be argued with is the fact that security forces were present that day at the toll gate and that they shot at protesters. And if the authorities are not willing to go beyond to investigate the extent to which their officers were involved and the wrongdoing that happened, we're really just promulgating institutions that wherein there's no accountability. And that was the main essence of the protest in the first place. So
All
we're
right,
not seeing any change.
let me also, we expect results. We've not seen any reaction from the government, and the report is just laying fallow. The question would be, in the time span that is left for this administration, do you actually see the possibility of some justice and accountability being done to the investigations that were carried out on the NSAS protest, or do you expect that this will be moved on to the next administration?
I think what we're seeing is really the government or the authorities trying to evade their responsibility, and that is not acceptable. Justice and accountability should not be a determination of the particular administration in power. It should not be subjected to whether or not government officials want to see justice done or not. It should be a right for every citizen who has been aggrieved to go before various institutions and take this up. So, and even beyond citizens going before various institutions, there are institutions that are mandated by law to carry out the function of holding police officers or security forces, including the military and the army, accountable when these abuses happen. Within the military, we have the military police. Within the police, we have the X squad. We also have external oversight mechanisms, including the Police Service Commission, that are supposed to automatically, go into gear to investigate these allegations and ensure that they're identifying perpetrators and holding them accountable. And this is what we want to see happen. It shouldn't be a question of this administration. It shouldn't be a question of political will. But unfortunately, that is what we've seen in the past. And we're hoping that these institutions come alive to their mandate and actually do as they're supposed to.
All right, but we'll have to leave it there and maybe continue another time. Thank you very much, Anietie Ewang, for speaking with us.
Thank you very much for having me.